Chair and members of the committee, my name is Keegan Siebenaller, and I'm the Executive Director of Shelter Whitefish. So we create and advocate for affordable housing policies in Whitefish and around the Flathead Valley. So among cities that are subject to MLUPA, Whitefish is among the most unaffordable housing market given local incomes, and it's a city with one of the highest percentage of its workers living outside the zip code. That's over 60% of the workers. So given that background, we found that Whitefish is probably one of the cities that needed the catalyst of MLUPA the most, and also one of the cities where it's been the most unpopular. The growth policy process in Whitefish was quite controversial. I would say that broadly the majority of the elected officials have been unwilling to implement a lot of the measures required by MLUPA or really cede any of their say over individual developments. And I think for a city councilor, that concern is quite understandable. There have been that's a lot of your job description as a city councilor in the past. But as you well know, that extensive engagement around every single development has blocked a lot of housing in places like Whitefish. And so with that in mind, I think some of that animosity from these smaller resort towns is a sign that the committee has done good work. The existing regulatory framework isn't working for most of the workers that are suffering from that housing shortage. And so we're confident that front-loading that engagement will free up elected officials to do useful work of city government and city planning instead of micromanaging how development takes place on any particular lot. I think some growing pains and some resistance to that is expected, but we would urge the legislature to not back down from that paradigm. So from our perspective, the strongest parts of MLUPA were those required housing strategies, the parking and height reforms, and the new processes around development approvals. And the weaker components in terms of effectiveness in Whitefish were the population projections and the land use map. So particular to a place like Whitefish, where so much of the workforce commutes, that's unmet housing demand for people that could live in Whitefish that isn't captured anywhere in the projections for population. And so in our analysis, the city was able to therefore move forward with a land use map that didn't change the underlying amount of approved housing in many of the existing neighborhoods in the city and kind of focuses that growth outwards. So adding some teeth to that part of legislation could be something to look at moving forward. Thank you for your time.